Hello out there, and I've got an unboxing, or better yet, an unbagging to do today. And yeah, I am going to be doing a shout out today, guys, but I really dislike whenever people do unboxing videos and they take too long to open whatever it is they're unboxing. So we are just going to get right into it, and I'll splice in the shout out in just a bit. And actually, I have a Ganzo to open up the bag because, well, what's inside will also be a Ganzo. And I am going to have another unboxing video in the near future because I have a bunch of new CRKTs coming. And yeah, this says Adimanti on the box, but you can see Instagram.com Ganzo knife. And this is one that I found just searching on Amazon, and it just came out in December, so only a few weeks ago, and has 0 customer reviews. So it looks like this is just a new offshoot of Ganzo or a collaboration. The only videos I've seen about this on YouTube are in, I think it's Russian. So I think that's from the designer. Whew. It's heavy. Alright, we'll get back to it in just a second. Let's see what's in here, because Ganzo doesn't usually have this kind of stuff. Alright, so I'll leave it on this for just a second. You can get a little bit of background. Alright, so the name of the knife is the Nerformat. Maybe like new format? Interesting. But yeah, I saw Ganzo. Definitely wanted to pick this one up. It was a little bit more expensive than what the Ganzos usually run. It was 38 bucks. But it looked really good. D2 steel. Let's get it open and get a look at it. It is a very pretty blade. Whew. So stainless steel frame lock. It is very solid. Really nice deep carry clip here. Glass breaker. I wonder if that's removable. I saw that in the pictures on Amazon and I was like, well, I don't know. We're going to give it a shot anyway. So, interesting way of doing like a lanyard hole. You'd thread it through this little loop right here in the backspacer. And as you can see, I mean, you have a full stainless steel frame and then the G10 is on top. So, pretty interesting there. There's our lockup. Yeah, really good and strong. The jimping is good. Ergos are pretty solid. Pretty smooth out of box. It feels like maybe with a little bit of disassembly and lubrication that maybe some of that like grittiness out of box could be worked out, but I mean, as it is, it's pretty good. It is pretty darn good. So I'm going to transition into a quick shout out, and then I'll come back, do some size comparisons and some weight stuff, and get you a little bit more information about this one. And now we are going to get to a couple of quick shout outs today, guys, talking about a few of the people who support this channel. And there's 2 of them today because there's only 1 or 2 pictures from each of them. And we're going to start with a relevant one from a guy named Joe Yates. His EDC, the 3 knives that he's carrying a lot right now, 2 of them are Ganzos, just like the one we're talking about today. So yeah, 2 Ganzos, really good user knives. And then in the middle, you see a steel will Modus. And while I haven't always been a fan of some of those steel wills, when I did the D2 testing with the Modus, that knife, just that blade shape and design, just it really cut, and it went and went and went. So good user EDC stuff right there. He's also, as you can see, a a gun guy. A big passion of his is motorcycles as well. So thanks to Joe Yates for following the channel. And then the other one, sort of a heartfelt one, a pretty cool kind of EDC. This is from Hootie Hoo 2, just showing his EDC with his 6-year-old son's trainer. So very cool little picture there of the Dragonfly and the Paramilitary 2. So those are the shout outs for the day, guys. Anyone wants to get involved with that, you want to get your name on the list to be shouted out in one of these videos, send me a email at jtsknifelife@gmail.com with some information about you, how long you've been following the channel, what your favorite knives are, pictures of them, your collection pics, whatever you're EDCing, all that kind of stuff, and we will get it into a video in the future. All right, but now back to more on this one right here. Alright guys, and now let's get it on the table for just a few size comparisons and some more details, and I'll apologize right now if I rehash anything that I said at the beginning. You know, those unboxings, you only get one shot at it, one take, and so, yeah, I might just gloss back over some of that initial information that I gave. But let's just get started looking at the overall length of this knife. We are looking at right around 8 inches. Now we have a cutting edge that runs 3.6. And so there's going to be a number of knives that compare pretty similarly in overall length to it. Here's the Paramilitary 2, a knife that I use a lot, and so people always have an understanding of on this channel, is the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. So this is a much larger knife than that. How about my knife of the year for 2019? The Steel Will Shaula. That's actually a pretty fair comparison right there too. Overall length is pretty much spot on. Cutting edge is pretty much spot on. All right. And then, of course, since we're talking about Ganzo, here is the FH71, which is a little bit of a shorter knife actually. But the number one knife, the reason actually why I knew I wanted to buy this was when I first saw this, even though we do have a different blade shape, when I first saw this, just the overall lines, especially how the handle tapers down, reminded me of another favorite knife of mine for a year. And this is the Case and Southern Grind CG01. And yeah, it just had some similar like basic looks. And I figured I would probably like this knife since I like the Case and Southern Grind one so much. Getting them in hand, it's funny because, yeah, this knife, the Adimanti, the Ganzo, and again, taking a look at the actual name of the designs, the Nerformat, this one is very comfortable in hand, but going from this to this, it really goes back to show you like why this knife was my favorite knife of 2018, that's for sure. But that's not really the focus today. Talking about weight, so we do have this stainless steel frame lock, and like I said earlier, there is stainless steel on both sides. A little bit of milling there, which is good. So we do have some machining to take down the weight a little bit. I'm going to take a guess and say this is going to be like 4.6. Not even. All right, 4.2 is pretty solid. Now, it does feel like it has a little bit of heft, but yeah, I mean, that FH71, just about everything else on the table was a lot lighter, so maybe that's why just in comparison. But I really like the blade shape here, almost like a spear point. It feels like, at first I thought it might be hollow, but no, it is pretty sure it's a flat grind. D2 steel here, just a beautiful looking blade. We do have a number of color configurations as well. I'm not sure if I touched on the price. This is going to be more expensive than your regular like Ganzo FH series. So this one runs at $43. So I might have said 38 earlier. I'm not sure, but $43 for the black, the purple, which this is, the orange, and I think there's also green. But then I saw that there's also a carbon fiber version, which is only $45, only an extra $2. So you do have a number of different options if you want to check something like this out. And so I think this fits more into the price point, you know, D2, G10, that kind of deal, fits more into the price point of like competing with the CJRBs and the Best Techs and some of the other companies that are doing, you know, artisan, that are doing knives in this price range. And honestly, it fits with the quality that you see from them. So even though the Ganzo is going to be probably a little bit better value just because of how low the prices are, this version of it is certainly not overpriced compared to the rest of the stuff on the market, even though you will pay more than just a typical Ganzo. Can you see a big difference in quality between this and this? From first glance, and I mean, you can see like the pivots are the same. Everything is basically going to be the same as far as quality of manufacturing. So, I mean, you'll just have to rationalize if you think that getting a design like this, you know, if this design is appealing to you to the extent that you want to pay the extra money versus any other Ganzo. I don't know, but of course, you do have this this confirmation that, you know, we're dealing with an actual designer, so this is a like legitimate design. It is, you know, licensed out, and so we do have, you know, no kind of copying on any kind of level. So that's definitely a very good thing when it comes to them. The lockup, opened it and closed it a bunch now. It feels pretty darn good. I'm going to disassemble here in a minute, and I'll probably cut to that. To see what the situation is when this is taken apart, if this clip might be reversible. I don't think it is, and to see if this this little window breaker is removable. All right, but overall, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty stoked about this knife. I'm excited to have something in like a nice deep purple. I said earlier in a couple videos that I was really looking forward to what Ganzo was going to do, and that's why I've just been on Amazon checking them out and waiting to see. I'm really just searching and waiting to see if the FH8 one comes out. And just in doing that, I came across this. And I don't know if anybody else really has yet, because I haven't seen it anywhere. So definitely a cool little knife. Yeah, definitely has a lot going for it. So let's take a look inside and see if we can come up with any other details. And taking a quick look at this knife disassembled, there are a few things that jump out immediately. The first of them is just the amount of machining that is done. So I didn't even notice on the lock side of the knife just the amount of machining that went into that stainless steel to sort of cut weight here with some recesses. And yeah, you can see all of the speed holes here on the liner side. And then a couple of the big things, the washers, I think I might be able to get some crisper action. These are plastic washers that have the bearings in them, but just the way that it's lubricated, it is a little bit grimy. So I'll be able to clean that up and hopefully make it just a little bit crisper and snappier. When it comes to the clip, so let's take a look at that. So the clip here, it doesn't seem like it's going to be reversible because the way that this thing works, and let's see if I can just sort of hold it together real quick for you guys. So the way that this thing works is that the clip sort of goes over like this. Sorry, like this. And the only way that the screw hole is centered is in this position. So if you flip it the other side, like it just doesn't center, so you wouldn't be able to screw it in. The other possibly bad news is that the screw that holds the clip in is the screw that has the glass breaker on the top. Now, could you find another screw of this size? Possibly, and I'm actually going to go through some of my stuff and see if I have one. Could you also just cut the top off of this screw? Yeah, but then you wouldn't really be able to screw it in and out that well. So yeah, sort of possibly a small conundrum, but regardless, even if the glass breaker had to stay in, I don't think by any means that this is a deal breaker at all. So let's get it back together, see what the action is like, and wrap this video up. And guys, I really have to give credit to Ganzo for one more thing. I mean, all of the knives that I've had from them have been pretty darn easy to disassemble and work on, and this one really isn't any exception. The only issue, the only thing that was even remotely difficult about it was just configuring this pocket clip and getting the clip through the right notches and tightening it with this this glass breaker. But otherwise, all the hardware is solid, really easy to take apart. Is the knife smoother? Is it more crisp? A little bit. It wasn't a problem though out of box, so it wasn't like it wasn't a smooth knife or wasn't drop shutty. It is to some regard. It just feels like it has a little bit more friction in there than the FH71. But to be honest, guys, the FH71 doesn't really have very many peers as far as quality goes, opening and closing. So, you know, the fact that it doesn't meet that standard isn't necessarily such a bad thing, because that was a ridiculously high standard to try to meet. The action on this is just fine. The detent, it's pretty easy to break, so it's not a very strong detent, but it's perfectly sufficient, I think. Yeah, no shaking it out, so that's definitely a good thing. In hand, the knife just feels super comfortable. I'm holding it right-handed right now, maybe a little bit of digging in from the clip, but otherwise, like, nothing major. The jimping isn't great, but it's not terrible. I don't know, guys. I think the lines of the design really just speak a lot to me, and so that makes it a big win on its own. But otherwise, it's just a good-looking knife, and it's built well, built to just about the same level standard as the previous couple Ganzos that I've had, which have been just like ridiculously high for the value. So again, just wrapping it up, yes, you're going to pay about $20 more than you would for anything in the FH series. But if you like this design and you're trying to compare this not necessarily to other Ganzos, but to other things like Bestex and Artisans and CJRB, and I'm trying to think of more of those kind of like offshoot, like Kaiser Tangrams, or even heck the Kaiser Vanguard series, because this is rocking D2. I mean, it's competitive in a lot of ways and still going to be a lot cheaper than some of those competing models. So I think it is definitely a good purchase. So one more time, just to be clear, Adimanti, I guess, is the offshoot brand. The name of the design is the Nerformat, and the name of the designer is Skimen. So a lot of new names, but it all resulting in one pretty sweet knife. And there you have it, guys. Any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know. Are you interested in something like this? What do you compare it against? Do you compare it against other Ganzos, or would you compare it against some of the other things like even Tucson's or anything else that's out there right now to compete with it? All right, thanks for watching, guys. I will talk with you soon. Take care and have a good one.